Welcome back to Mac's Garage. Today I'm standing here with my 1963 Massey Fergusson 35. I'm going to be doing a little bit of unscheduled repair on it. Probably most repairs aren't scheduled, but I really need to get this tractor up and running so I can use the snow blower I've got for it to clear out the foot of snow that's sitting in the parking lot right now. So some of this stuff may not be super proper because I don't have the gaskets or the rebuild kit or anything like that, but I'm going to go ahead and try to get the 3-point hydraulics working properly on this tractor. And what's going on is I took a little video here. Alright, so this tractor learned a cool new trick. Notice my 3-point control. Actually, you can't tell this, but it feels like it's not really hooked to anything anymore. It's all the way in the down position. I'm going to go ahead and maybe fire this up, maybe just crank it, we'll see. That was from a couple of days ago. I guess the reality is I did know about this long enough to maybe order some things and do this a little bit better, but I didn't, so here we are. Let's take a look at kind of where things sit right now. I've already got the seat off because I know I'm going to need to. And up here on the right-hand side of the tractor, I removed this inspection cover. I was really hoping I was going to find a problem in these rods in here, but they look to be doing what they should do. Like if I move this one, yeah. So that seems to be pretty good. Honestly, maybe that might be the issue. Either way, I'm going to have to pull the top cover off. I'll check out the rods and stuff first, and then probably get into the pump. You're going to get real familiar with a 11/16 wrench while doing this. I'm going to start out by pulling the hydraulic block cover here. So if you have remotes on your tractor, this is where they'll come off of, but for this, it's just a basically a fluid passage. Now, inside of here is a pipe that goes down into the pump as you lift up on it. I already know my pump is working, and the stand pipe came up with it. That's fine. I'm going to remove this cover, so I don't need to check this out. This pipe is nice and rusty. Cool. So that's always a good sign when you've got rust and junk everywhere. But because the 3-point goes all the way up, we know the pump itself is pumping. Okay, from there I'm going to disconnect my 3-point arms. Kind of do whichever pivot seems to work easiest. So on this one spins nice and easy, so I'll pull it out. That'll be easy. Okay. Yeah, right there will work. Okay. Okay. So there's that. The 3 points are unhooked. I probably should have done this before I took the blade out, or the plate off. I'm gonna clean around this cover real quick. Okay, with all the dirt blown off, I'm gonna take out the perimeter bolts. I'm not gonna touch these 4 in here because those hook to the lift cylinder. And this has definitely been apart before by the anti-seize. Okay. So with those, all the perimeter bolts out, you're gonna have some different lengths. Just kind of go ahead and actually a bunch of different lengths. You can kind of figure them out as you go back together, but kind of pay attention to how they come apart. I'm gonna start in the center. Oops. Lay them out as they come off. Okay, so now what you really should do is hook it to a hoist or a chain fall or something like that and lift that way. And yeah, that's what I'm gonna do because this is stuck pretty good. Actually, I'll probably get a pry bar between the rear axle and the draft cylinder here. Got all of them, right? Yeah. Okay. So that just kind of popped loose. Now, the control levers off of this come down and are kind of an important thing, and especially when you're putting it back together. I'm gonna have to get the hoist out. So I was just gonna lift this off and He-Man it out by hand, but I think I will, yeah, I'll go ahead and get the hoist so I don't break stuff. Yeah, this chain is way too long, and this would be a lot easier to do with 2 people, but I should be able to get it done here. Okay. Try to bring it up as straight as you can. My 30 pounds of chain on the front probably isn't helping. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to pull this back and set it somewhere. All right, so the levers, these are the cover upside down. These levers seem to be moving the way that they should. So we've got kind of a narrower work range here for the 3-point control. So that comes up and it doesn't really spring back, but the spring in the pump does. The draft control works its whole range as well. This stuff down inside of here looks pretty nasty, and the draft control lever is real stiff, so I may take this stuff apart, but I don't think this is our issue. So now I'm into removing the pump, which is gonna suck. And I guess the first step on that is pulling the PTO. All right, so I'll start out with the 3 bolts around the retainer plate. Ouch. So I got the 3 bolts out, and take a little chisel hit action here. Knock that loose. Come on. There we go. Now this should come out. I actually had this kind of moving a little bit when I was taking the cap off, which I'm actually going to put the cap back on and see if I can use that to help pry a little bit. Okay, so I've got the cap threaded back in here. It actually seems like it might just come out. Nope. Maybe not. It is an O-ring. Alright, pry bar. I don't really have anything to pry on here. That's going to be the problem. Sweet. Okay, get my big ass pliers out here. And a pry bar. Holy shit. Good God. Okay. Starting to get a little bit of grease out of it. This fucker sucks. Ah, shoot. All right. So that sucked, but it's out. Okay. PTO shaft out. And now I'm up on top of the tractor. I've got the transfer case or the range box and low range. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this pin out of here now. Could you imagine how good this would go if I wasn't an idiot? Alright, so with this in low range, I should be able to just slide this forward up onto here. And not that way. Does it have to be in high range? Maybe it has to be in high range. Then I can get this thing out of here. Now I'm staring at the pump. Yeah. And the pump, we'll go ahead and put this down into the PTO. This is the PTO lever. I just dropped it into ground range to give myself a little bit more room. I'm going to pop these two things off on the side. So, I'll show you in a second once I get them off. Alright, so now I've got the pins out, both sides. Those retain this thing and hold it in place more or less. Let's see if I can get a good... Yeah, this isn't going to stay here. Okay. That's about as good as I'm going to do without the camera falling over. But I'm now going to pull the pump. So to pull the pump, all I'm going to do is slide it back. That disengages it from everything. And kind of reach in here. Finagle it around. Maybe. Alright. Okay, let's see. Alright, so there you go. Finagled it so it comes up and out. So here's kind of the deal on this pump. It was pumping just fine. It has a control valve issue. This is kind of, along with the mechanism on the top end of the tractor, or the lift plate of the tractor, this controls how much fluid runs through the pump and out to the 3-point. So it's pumping well. I'm going to take the control assembly apart, see if I can see anything in there that's an issue. And I'm not going to worry about the whole main body of the pump just yet. So I'm going to start off with, actually I should start off with this end. So I'm going to start off with this end. There's a spring underneath a jigger here, a snap ring, and then a lid. Oh, good. Whoops, broke it. Because I went the wrong way, idiot. Alright, so that was bad, but I can likely still get that snap ring out of there. Oh shit, that broke there too. Okay, so this ring is just real brittle. That's nice. Okay, so I got that snap ring out after I broke it. Now I gotta get that out of there. Okay, spring came out. I am kind of thinking there might just be a bunch of junk inside of this. But I am gonna have to find a little tiny snap ring. I guess I could reuse that. It'll just be a nightmare next time I have to take it apart. Okay, so after that, now we got no tension on the control valve side. Now I'd pull this plate off of here. Okay, so that just kind of slides out. Yeah, this pump is nasty. So now I should measure that. So I can get it back into the same exact spot. I'm going to measure just from the top of the nut to where we're at there. And pretty much exactly 1/4 inch. So leave that one. That one will be 1/4 inch when we put it back together. That is an adjustment. Okay, the ball and socket end of this thing comes out with the lever. Now I can take the plate off of here. I can see rust and junk kind of all over in here, and I'm tempted to take the whole pump apart just to clean it out. In fact, right there where I've just had stuff laying, there's like a big old pile of sediment, which is not great for something that is supposed to be a pump. It's just not good. And these do not have an intake filter on them. They just take in whatever crap is in the fluid. Okay, pull that little unit off. That thing comes out of the way. We got a washer in here, which would sit up against that cover. And then a washer underneath that one. Oh, I thought I just had that. No. Let me grab the magnet. Okay, and then this valve comes out. That doesn't look exactly beautiful. I probably really should buy a rebuild kit for this. I did some stuff off camera here. I actually fully dismantled this pump and put it back together, but I've got you back to where I think the actual issue is, and that's in the control valve assembly. The reality is that when I took this apart, everything's wore out in this pump. It still works. It still made pressure. It was lifting my snowblower up until the point where it decided that it wanted to lift it all the way up. So it's pumping, it's making enough pressure, it's doing what it needs to do, and I'm just going to go ahead and pretend that I didn't see how bad the condition is of everything inside of here. So yeah, time to start putting the control valve back together. I'm actually going to start on this end here. We've got a piece that runs down into the control valve. This is the actual control valve. I kind of think this was maybe stuck, but I'm not 100% sure. But either way, this pump slides in from this side, if I can figure out how to get it. Another thing that I did while I was off camera is I cleaned everything. Like, got crazy with cleaning. That probably didn't go in far enough. Nope. So I'm going to stand this up, see if I can get that to go down in there a little bit nicer. There it is. So that's now all the way in. You can actually see through the little window here if you've got really good eyes or a light. Now I'm going to take my control valve. I didn't take a lot of this stuff out, but I can put this washer on here beforehand. It'll help support everything and line it up. And those actually lock together and kind of hold. So once that's together, I put the washer in already on the control valve. So I can now take this piece here, put it down into its home. Had two washers off of this side that go on with the plate. They actually kind of sit down inside of here. There is an O-ring. Again, with not buying the rebuild kit, I don't have that O-ring. So I'm just going to go ahead and start putting the bolts together. Not going to tighten these up yet. Not tight anyway. I guess I can. So this piece here will actually go on, and shoot, I hope I didn't just knock that out. Ah, crap. No, so I'll have to pull this back off because I just moved stuff around that I shouldn't have. So what I'm going to do, so that doesn't happen again, is I'm actually going to come back to this end, put my spring in, and this is kind of a, I should be able to stand this up without any problems now. So I'll go ahead, yeah, that should work still. So I'll go ahead, stand this up, wiggle my spring down into place. Got a little square cap that goes on. Where are your safety glasses for this? And if you didn't break your snap rings container pieces on its way out, and this will probably be easier to put back in for you. But I did. So now I'm going to have to fight with it. And that's why you wear your safety glasses. Try this again now that I cleaned everything back up. Oh, where did I set that though? Huh. Awesome. There it is. Okay, so there's that's in. Now that's locked in place. Slides back and forth nice and easy. I was going to put a little bit of oil on it, but this will be submerged anyway. I forgot to put the oil on. So now I've got that started. My snap ring, just the circular ears broke off. So it's still going to hold in fine. It just was kind of a pain to get together. So now I can take this unit here. All right, so those are all tightened up. Now I'm going to grab my actual roller here. It'll drop down in. That will go over top of that side. You have your locking nut, and if you remember from taking this apart, this goes down about 1/4 inch. So it should take slightly more than hand pressure to do that. I don't think this was a half, no. There's my 7/16. Alright, so I'll come back to that and adjust it when I grab a different wrench, which I'm also going to need for this one. But this unit here just kind of goes through, acts as a guide, so we'll go ahead and put it on. Okay. Come up and adjust this thing. Okay, and we're measuring from the top of the stud down to the nut. I've got 1/4 inch. That's where it was when I took it apart. This moves freely. Seems like everything's doing what it should be there. The pump turns nice and free. So it's time to put this back in the tractor. Another thing that I did off camera here is I spent some time, I really cleaned everything out. I also drained the transmission because while they have separate drain plugs and fill plugs, fluid tends to flow between the two of them through the bearings. So I've got this all cleaned up. It's now time to start installing the pump. So I'm going to do kind of the reverse of taking it out, which is probably going to cut my hands all up. But I'm dropping it down through. I'm actually going to kind of let it sit in the bottom of the tractor there. Whoops. Is this the right? Yep. All right. So I pulled on the range selector a little bit to give it a little clearance. Now I'm going to go ahead, slide the splines on, and you should be in a spot there. I'm not going to take this outside, but these little pins that I took out before might have O-rings on them, so I'm just going to continue to use the O-ring. And you should be able to see that come through from the outside here. Maybe not. One on each side. Okay. So I'll start that one. Now I've got both of those pins in, which are going to hold that pump up. So I'll go ahead and put the nuts back on those. And that's actually it for inside here. We'll switch back to the tail end and put the PTO shaft in. Okay, before I do the installation of this PTO shaft, I'm going to take my PTO selector and pull it up into engine, which is going to slide this gear forward and onto the shaft coming through the pump, which will make aligning that shaft a lot easier. And now we're going to go ahead and reinstall the PTO shaft, which, as we go in, we're going to have to twist it to get the lines, the splines lined up, and then it sets right in place because we put that PTO into engine and it supported everything. Beyond that, probably be a good idea to change the seals and the O-rings on this part, but I'm not going to. Mainly because I don't have them, so it just kind of is what it is. I'm going to put this piece back in. If you don't have the cover, this will be a little bit more difficult, but if you do, did that not seat all the way? Seems far enough. So because I've got the cap, this will be fairly easy. I can just give it a little tap. I screwed up there. I should have had it. I should have had this indexed different. That's all right though. I can probably get that with my big channel locks. But if you're doing this at home, there's two flat spots on this unit. Kind of important where they go. Okay. And those are kind of important because this dirty plate that I don't really care if this is like the only part of this whole deal that doesn't really matter if it's nice and clean. But this thing goes on there like so and locks everything together. So that's got to be in the proper orientation. Okay. So go ahead and tighten these three bolts on this unit down, and then we get to do the fun part. I like to do this while the cover's still off. I know not everybody does, but it seems a lot easier to me to use a 5-gallon pail to dump oil into a transmission while you can still get at it. Now the gear oil that I'm using, this is a GL1, which is kind of important to this. This is a 90 weight. The GL1 is just a really old gear oil. This pump has a lot of moving bronze in it, so that's newer oils can actually damage that. That's why you want the GL1. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this up. I've got basically everything that's going to make this fluid tight up to this window in the tractor. So I've still got a shaft to put back in the transmission here, but I like to give this a little bit of time, especially on this tractor where the rear axle and the transmission kind of share fluid. We're going to go ahead and put fluid in it, and you'll actually see the level of it drop down as it sits here, and that's because fluid is going forward into the transmission. So I'll put this in, I'll fill it up basically to the window right here, and then I will wait. And yeah, that's it. You don't need to watch this whole process. This 5-gallon jug is just dumping in here until it's there. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the shaft that actually runs the tractor back in. So again, you've got to have the high range engaged. You're just going to take this shaft, slide it down, line it up. Oh man, why can't I get it to line up? Okay, so there's that end. There's that end. Okay, I guess the only way to really turn this is if you have the wheels off the tractor. So I've got my big cotter pin that came out of this, and it's going to be kind of a pain to do, but this cotter pin will go down through the center of this shaft, and that'll let you know that everything is good. Now if you twist this the other direction, then it goes into, actually no, because it's okay. So I'll get this cotter pin down through here, and I'm going to clean it up first, but I'll put it in, bend it over, and that'll be all set there too. The next step I'm not actually going to show you. I'm going to take basically, maybe not all, but a lot of this apart, just kind of clean the rust and gunk out of it so that doesn't get down into the pump basically. So I'm not going to do that on camera though. I'm just going to get this all back together and then we'll install the cover. Okay, this is probably the best angle I'm going to get on this. I've got help to run the hoist because this is going to need a little bit of precision. So I've got my standpipe in with new O-rings. Go ahead, bring it down. And I've got just silicone because I didn't go buy a gasket. Probably right about there, slow down. Okay. The camera dropped or died, whatever, midway through putting this cover on, but it's down in place. One of the key things you got to watch is inside this hole. Make sure that both of these lever arms end up on this side of this roller here, which they are. So I don't know if I can get this all in here. I'm going to move the height control, and you should be able to see the lever for the height control move as I do that. Yep, so that's all the way up. and then it walks right back down. So that all seems to be moving. I did my best to clean this cover out, but it looks like it's dropping some rust and junk down into my fresh oil, so that sucks. But there it is. That's in. Oh shoot, getting old today. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tighten these cover bolts. I'll be honest, I should torque these, but I'm just going to run them in with an impact, and we'll just do a crisscross pattern and call it good enough. So I'm not going to videotape that, but tighten that up next. Then put your pins back in your 3-point arms. So I'll do that as well. And then we'll go on to filling the fluid. So one more thing, and then another that we've got to put on before I can actually fill it with fluid is this plate. This is your fluid directional valve. So fluid comes in out of this standpipe right here, comes up into the valve block here, and just basically goes through. So this O-ring is pretty important, but it's also pretty easy to change. So is this one. So I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that this port aligns down into the area where it goes down into the tractor at. Pop it into, I might need to lube that O-ring a little bit. Pop it down on into place, and throw our bolts in that as well. Okay, now after that, I've got this little unit down here on the side, and that is your this plate with the dipstick. So I'm not even going to show you that. You'll have to put that back on as well before you fill it with fluid. Okay, so I've got things, I don't have the seat on, but I've got things mostly back together. The reason why I dumped, I think it ended up being pretty close to 4 gallons, maybe a touch more, down this hole before I dropped everything in, is because the rest of it has to go in this fill hole right there up on the transmission. So if I pull the funnel out, there's a plug that sits in there. So as it sits right now, this thing takes about 7 gallons of oil. So I have, I don't know, close to 3 gallons that has to go down through this hole. That's going to kind of suck, but I'm going to fill this up and then we'll go back to it. All right, so here we go for a little test. There we go. It can continue to drop while it's off and I can talk. I would think this will probably, let me start that again. There's a lot of air in this system because, well, it's all been apart. So that jerkiness that you saw on the way up, that will likely get better as it gets run a few times. And if not, I suppose that means that there's probably still something wrong in the controls. But it's going up, it's going down, so we're there, and that's good. And that's it. I've got the snow blower in on the 3-point right now. I'm letting it kind of thaw out. It's dark outside right now and I don't really have lights. So I'll wait until tomorrow to actually move any snow. But the 3-point is now working. I've moved it up and down a few times. It's smoothed out. It is running faster both up and down than it did before. What exactly did I fix? I don't know. My guess is that there was something in that control valve, but I also did get a lot of the stuff in that cover. There's a bunch of wheels and things that I got actually moving that were not. So it could be something wrong with one of those. It could be the control valve in the pump. I'm not really 100% sure. It might just be that I got that super nasty fluid out of there and it likes having fresh, clean fluid better. But regardless, that's it for this one. Hit the like, share, subscribe. I'm sure there will be lots more with this tractor. In fact, right off the top of my head, when you put it under a load, it bogs and pops and does some other things. Believe that's a carburetor issue, could also be ignition. So I think I'll be updating it to an electronic ignition just because points kind of suck to deal with, especially now that they don't make good points. I think that probably 30 years ago, when you could get a quality set of points, it probably wasn't that big a deal. But it seems like the ones you get now don't last, don't work, and are just trash. So I'll probably convert it over to electronic ignition. I'll probably clean the carburetor out, and my guess is when that happens, everything will start working better. But for right now, I'm just going to use it because I need to, and it's working again. So thanks for watching. Hit the like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you later.